welcome to your first lesson of Sustainable Development Studies. My name is Ariza Hussain, and I will be covering today's lesson. Today's lesson is on sustainable fashion. Now, before we begin today's lesson, I want you all to think of uh, what comes to your mind when you think of fashion. Let's take 20 seconds. All right. So when I think of fashion, what comes to my mind is style, clothes, looking attractive, looking stylish, also being comfortable to some extent. So your question might be, how is fashion related to sustainability? Or why are we even studying about fashion in our Sustainable Development Studies course? Now, to answer that, I will present to you today's lesson. All right. So today's presentation, the main discussion points will be what fast fashion is, how does fast fashion harm the environment, what is sustainable fashion, why is it important, how do we practice sustainable fashion, and I'll give you some examples of sustainable clothing brands. All right, so the main question, what is fast fashion? It is the mass production of cheap, trendy, disposable clothing. What fast fashion does is countless new collections per year makes you feel constantly out of date and encourage you to keep buying more. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, that every year or even every season a new trend comes up and we all feel that, in order to keep up with the trends, we have to buy new clothes. We have to keep up with the new fashion trends. And that is what fast fashion is. It's the production of cheap, trendy, and disposable clothing, and it encourages you to keep buying more and more. Now, there are certain interesting facts I want to share with you. 80 billion garments are produced each year. Again, I'll repeat that. 80 billion garments are produced each year. So, can you imagine the amount of clothes or garments that are being produced each year? Well, the number is right in front of you. And I'm sure a lot of you have probably never even thought about it. But let me tell you, this is a huge number. Now, as we were talking about fast fashion, one of the facts that sort of point towards fast fashion is, on average, we wear garments 7 times before getting rid of them. Most women wear only 20% to 30% of the clothes in their wardrobe. And an average of 35 kg of textile waste is generated per person each year just in the US. Now, I know a lot of you here will be able to sort of not relate to this, but all of you will be able to relate to the fact that we don't wear everything that's in our wardrobe. I myself have so many clothes in my wardrobe that I have never worn, but I just bought them, kept them, and probably I don't like them or I don't like how I look in them. So I've just kept it there. So I'm not wearing them. And that's why it says that only 20% to 30% of the clothes are worn in the wardrobe are actually worn by women. And a lot of us don't even want to repeat our clothings, right? We don't want to repeat the same clothes over and over again. And that's why we keep buying more and more and we waste more and more. And the result is right in front of you, which is 35 kg of textile waste is generated per person only in the US. Now, why are we talking about fast fashion and how is it related to sustainability? Now, for that, we need to know, how does fast fashion impact our environment? The fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the world. When you all think of pollution, what comes to your mind? I know you think of factories polluting, factories that are polluting the air. or even water, or cars polluting, our surroundings, the air, leading to air pollution. But I know a lot of you don't think about fashion or a lot it the fact that the clothes that you're wearing actually contribute to pollution is something that doesn't come to our mind. Well, it's right in front of you. It is the second largest polluter in the world. Now, polyester, and I'm sure all of you are probably familiar with it because it's a very, very popular fabric and it's one of the main components of fast fashion. It's made from fossil fuels. And we all know that fossil fuels contribute to global warming. They're one of the main reasons as to why global warming is even there, because they produce greenhouse gases. And I'm sure you all learned that. And so polyester is made from fossil fuels, and thus they directly contribute to global warming. Not only that, polyester also shed microfiber, and what these microfibers do is they contribute or they add to plastic pollution, which is one of the biggest problems that we face today. Now you can say, all right, if I don't wear polyester clothes, I'll just wear cotton clothes. Well, cotton farming requires huge quantities of water and pesticides, which actually also leads to environmental degradation. It can cause droughts. Pesticides can actually lead to various diseases. So, yeah, even cotton isn't very environmentally friendly. Here's an interesting fact. 10% of the global greenhouse gas emissions come from the fashion industry alone. 10%. And that is a very, very big deal. So let's take a pause. Let's pause and just think about how we are responsible for global warming and how the clothes that we're wearing is responsible for global warming. Now that we know the problem, how do we solve it? Well, the answer is sustainable fashion. As you can all guess from the name, sustainable fashion is fashion that basically encourages sustainability. So, sustainable fashion refers to clothing that is designed, manufactured, distributed, and used in ways that are environmentally friendly. Now, sustainable fashion promotes ethical fashion, eco friendly fashion, and slow fashion. So, eco friendly fashion is pretty self explanatory. I mean, you all know what that means. It means it's environmentally friendly, it doesn't lead to pollution. Slow fashion basically means it helps to reduce consumerism, and it means that people are not wasting clothes, they're not buying unnecessary items. That's what slow fashion is. And ethical fashion is more to do with thinking about the rights and the working conditions of the people who are making your clothes, the workers that are um, making your clothes, that are working in these factories. So why is sustainable fashion even important? Well, it reduces the carbon and environmental footprint of the fashion industry because it encourages eco-friendly fashion. It also reduces waste by focusing on quality and because it's also promoting slow fashions. And as we discussed before, it helps to protect the rights of the workers by promoting ethical fashion. Now, how do we promote sustainable fashion? All right, so basically, low impact natural organic materials. So, clothes can be made with low impact natural organic materials. And this is because natural fibers, these are biodegradable and they can compose cleanly back into the soil. You can also make clothes with recycled or dead stock materials. Using pre-existing materials to create new clothes eliminates the need of extracting new resources and also reduces wastage. And lastly, we can also, while we are making clothes, we can make sure that it has a zero or the production of clothes is zero or low waste design, because that will help us to minimize the amount of water and energy that is used in the manufacturing processes. All right. Now, whatever we discussed before, that's more from a producer's point of view. So what producers or manufacturers can do, producing with organic materials and recycled materials, or, designing a more efficient production system that will reduce waste. But as consumers, as buyers, what can you do to practice sustainable fashion? Well, here are some ways. One way is by reducing consumption. So obviously, fast fashion is due to consumerism. So we have to reduce consumption by buying less clothes and buying only what we need. So we have to prevent ourselves from doing impulsive buying or unnecessary shopping. We can also practice renting clothes for big occasions instead of buying new ones. For example, instead of buying a new lehenga for your wedding, lehenga choli for your wedding, you can actually rent it out. And that's more environmentally friendly. That's more environmentally conscious, because most of the time these bridal outfits are worn by the brides maybe once, maximum twice in their life. So if you're just wearing it once in your life, how about you just rent it out instead of buying a new one altogether? So that's more eco-friendly. You can also reuse and recycle. So buying secondhand or thrifted clothes is a great idea, and thrift stores are becoming more and more famous, where they basically sell, used clothes, and this is a great way to recycle clothes, right? You can also prolong the life of your clothes by taking good care of them, and if needed, you can make adjustments and reuse them for some other purposes. You can be creative. If if you have a sari which you're not using, maybe you can make the sari into like um, I don't know, a table cover or something. So make these small adjustments and reduce your wastage. And lastly, as consumers, it's very important for you to purchase the right way. Along with reducing your consumption, you have to purchase the right way. And this means you have to purchase or buy clothes which are made locally or which are made using renewable energy. Um, you know, Clothes made with low impact, natural, organic, or recycle/upcycle materials, right? So that is the behavior of a conscious consumer. And this, in other words, means you should buy clothes from sustainable clothing brands, which are promoting sustainable fashion through these ways. So what are some of these sustainable clothing brands that are making a positive impact? Now, one of the most famous brands that we are all aware of is H&M. All right, so there's also Stella McCarthy, People's Tree, Levi's, Reformation. So all of these are actually engaged in sustainable. They're trying to promote sustainable fashion. For example, H&M has introduced a new line, which is H&M Conscious. So H&M is moving away from its fast fashion roots with conscious collection, which are made of materials like organic cotton and recycled polyester. Levi's is committed to sustainability by working towards 100% sustainably sourced cotton and recycling old jeans into home insulation. Okay, so now we will watch a video um, just to recap of whatever we've just said. I hope you can all hear it. Okay, I'll play the video.
This is climate change, and things are only going.
Let's be honest, our environment is getting worse each day, right? I think पिछले कुछ सालों में words like global warming, climate change, water scarcity, air pollution, water pollution, etc. हमारी daily language का ना हिस्सा बन गए. So much so that we've become more conscious about how we can help save the environment. जैसे प्लास्टिक बैग्स की जगह रीयूजेबल बैग्स यूज करके, खाने को कम से कम वेस्ट करके, और बिजली और पानी को भी कम वेस्ट करके, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. बट हैंग ऑन, व्हाट अबाउट द क्लोथ्स वी वेयर? कपड़ों का और एनवायरनमेंट का क्या कोई कनेक्शन है? एक्चुअली बहुत बड़ा कनेक्शन है. You know what? This sweater which I'm wearing right now might just take almost 300 years to fully decompose in the soil. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. पता है, एक कॉटन टी शर्ट को बनाने में 2700 लीटर पानी यूज होता है. Basically, this is the amount of water a person drinks in 2.5 years. And every year, almost 2 billion cotton t-shirts are sold worldwide. Rest you can do the math. Also, हर साल 100 बिलियन कपड़े खरीदे जाते हैं पूरे वर्ल्ड में. And the chances are that that piece of clothing will just be worn 7 times before being tossed out. And almost 93% of the used clothes end up in landfills. And since our clothes are mostly made up of synthetic fibers, 60% to be exact, they're not biodegradable. और सिर्फ सिंथेटिक फाइबर्स ही प्रॉब्लमैटिक नहीं है. रॉ मटेरियल कहाँ से सोर्स होता है एंड हाउ द क्लोथ्स आर मैन्युफैक्चर्ड कंट्रीब्यूट अ लॉट टू द पोल्यूशन लेवल्स. जैसे ड्यूरिंग मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑफ क्लोथ्स अ लॉट ऑफ केमिकल एंड सिंथेटिक डाइज आर यूज्ड टू गिव देम अ पॉलिश्ड लुक. And you know what? Every year, almost 50,000 tons of dye is discharged into global water systems from textile industries. So it's not surprising that the fashion and textile industry is the second most polluting industry in the world after oil and gas. The UN says that the fashion industry is responsible for 10% of global greenhouse emissions annually. I didn't mean to scare you. ऐसा तो है नहीं कि हम कपड़े पहनना बंद कर देंगे. Which is why sustainable fashion is the answer. And by sustainable fashion, I mean वो कपड़े जो synthetic fibers जैसे nylon, polyester, acrylic से नहीं बनते, मगर बनते हैं from eco-friendly fibers, which can either be entirely from natural resources जैसे wood pulp, hemp, jute, coconut, bananas and pineapples as well, or can be a mix of both natural and synthetic fibers, which put less strain on the environment and actually can decompose in a shorter span of time. And in fact, many major brands are actually moving towards sustainable fashion. और ये change इसीलिए आया क्योंकि हम लोग बहुत environmentally conscious हो गए हैं अब. That's why not only brands like Levi's and Esprit, Global Desi, but many retail chains have also started their own collections made out of sustainable fibers. Among many makers of sustainable fibers, an Austrian company produces a certain variety which is called EcoVero and is made out of wood pulp. This fiber can actually put 50% less strain on the environment and can decompose fully within a few months. I know that most of the clothes which many brands have right now are not made out of sustainable fibers. But that's how our economy works, right? It's about demand and supply. They also have to maintain their financial viability. And while many brands are slowly moving towards sustainable fashion, maybe we as consumers can demand more eco-friendly clothing. And who knows, if we all collectively ask for sustainable clothes, maybe in the near future, all brands might just succumb to our demand. Or they might just get motivated to look at sustainable fashion as the norm rather than an exception. Won't that be nice? Till then, if you're out shopping and you want some good clothes and also want to save the environment, बस एक बार अपने आप से पूछ लेना कि टैग देखा क्या? And for more such videos, subscribe.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As you could see, the video basically reiterated the points that we discussed today, how fast fashion is leading to global warming. 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions actually comes from the fashion industry, which is also the second largest polluter of the world. And it's really important for us as consumers to be conscious, to be mindful. Um, we have to change our certain practices and engage in conscious um, behavior. We have to engage in eco-friendly ways, and for that it's really important that we reduce our consumption. We try to buy from sustainable brands. We try to recycle our clothes, right? And I think, as you know, the video also mentioned that um, if we as consumers pressurize these brands to move to more eco-friendly or sustainable ways, they will have to do so no matter what. And so that basically concludes that at the end of the day, it ultimately boils down to us. And as conscious citizens of the world, and as conscious people, it's really our responsibility to think for our planet and think of the environment. So I hope you guys learned something new today. I hope that you found the lesson interesting and informative. So thank you so much for paying attention, and thank you.